This is Bruce Shane Nelson speaking, and I'm the author of Pontius Pilate, a play I wrote for Easter. Here I am all alone, and suddenly a female voice, very strong, very loud, shouted in my ear from about 11 inches away. And she shouted, "To weigh men's souls in justice and preordain their doom." Well, in the following silence, I was shaking. I was literally terrified. A voice out of nowhere and straight into my ear, and I didn't know what to do. So I had a lot of computer cards around, and I grabbed one of them and I wrote this phrase down on the computer card. Then I headed up to bed. Didn't know what else to do. Well, the next morning, I got up and I looked at that computer card and I said, "What is this exactly?" And then immediately I knew it was the second line of a play that I had to write. Started writing, and I wrote 29 pages of a play without putting the pen down. I didn't even pause. The whole thing came pouring out. And that was the first draft, or at least the first chapter, of the play Pontius Pilate. I learned later that the Muse is a phenomenon well known to artists. In fact, there was one poet from ancient Greece who claimed that all of his works had been dictated to him by the Muse, by a female voice in his ear. So I found out I was not the only writer on earth who got a little help from a bodiless voice with a great deal of strength. At page 29, I just stopped. I ran out of ideas, I ran out of words, and the play was nowhere near finished. So I set it aside, and maybe a year later, or half a year later, suddenly I knew I had the rest of it in me, and I sat down, and in one single sitting, I finished the play. Now, it's a very unusual play. It has a chorus in it, just like the Greek plays, so perhaps my muse was from the time of Socrates. I don't know. In any case, that's the story of how this play got written. And I should mention, too, that there were words in that first draft that I had to look up in the dictionary. And when I looked them up, they were right. So there were words in there which I did not know or did not know I knew. And to me, this is pretty good evidence that another intelligence was involved in the writing of this play. And I even have the theory that perhaps the spirits of writers wander around looking for a live writer, someone who's young and has some talent, and someone they can use as their tool to continue to write even from beyond the grave. Well, I ask you gently, kindly, please listen to the play itself. Decide if it could have been written by a stoned hippie or whether or not it came from the Muse. Now, the reason I know that this was not the result of smoking, besides the fact that I smoked all the time and had never had this kind of result, it was the quality of the voice. It was I would say, a superhuman voice. It was clear and strong, a very powerful female being, not whispering, but literally knocking me over with the power of her voice and the enunciation perfectly pronounced. Now, one more rather amazing aspect of this experience is that it turned out that I wrote this play in blank verse. And at that time in Montreal, I didn't even know what blank verse was.